Okay, example 9. Okay, just before example 9, we are told that during a simple harmonic motion, there's this thing called a restoring force, and restoring force is actually our net force. And we know that by Newton's second law, net force is equal to mass times acceleration. And since earlier on we already know that since in a simple harmonic motion, the acceleration is proportional to the displacement and is always directed towards the equivalent position. That's for acceleration. And since net force is proportional to acceleration, so net force is also proportional to the displacement and always directed towards the equivalent position. Uh, if something is directed, if the net acceleration or the net force, if the acceleration or net force is pointing directed towards the equivalent point, it also means that the acceleration or the net force will always be opposite in sign, opposite in direction to the displacement. Okay, so that's what it means here. That means, summary, for simple harmonic motion, the restoring force or the net force must be proportional to x, but at the same time must be negative of something x. Okay, now we look at example 9. We have the graph show us there are 4 graphs showing us how the net force varies with uh, displacement. Okay, normally we call displacement x, but here they call it displacement r. Okay, but doesn't matter. It's just displacement. And we already know that for simple harmonic motion, the net force must be proportional to the displacement. That means if you plot net force against displacement graph, it must be a straight line graph. Must be a straight line throughout because it has the same gradient. So actually, A, B, C are all out. C is a straight line, but the gradient changes. And not only is a straight line throughout, its gradient is constant, and its gradient must be negative because the force is opposite in sign to the displacement. So the graph of net force against displacement must be a straight line, one single straight line graph with negative gradient throughout. So the answer is, yes, answer is D. Okay, yeah, so that's example 9.